In a quiet apartment in Seoul, a woman named Park Mi-ran checks her phone. She scrolls, waits. She is not waiting for a message from a friend. She is waiting for a sign that her family, hundreds of miles away in North Hamgyong province, has received the money she sent. This money is not for luxuries. For rice when the state rations fail, for medicine when the hospitals are bare, and for a small bribe to keep a local official from looking too closely. For tens of thousands of North Korean defectors in South Korea, this is a constant, gnawing anxiety. They live in a world of freedom and plenty, yet their hearts remain tethered to the hunger and fear their loved ones endure daily. The North Korean state is supposed to provide for its people. The public distribution system was once the backbone of daily life, doling out grain and oil to every household. But that system crumbled decades ago, leaving a void filled by desperation and a burgeoning black market. Now, a family's ability to eat often depends not on the state, but on the courage of a relative who escaped. The few $100s a defector like Mi-ran can send every few months can mean the difference between a full meal and a bowl of corn gruel. It can buy a winter coat, pay for a child's unofficial school fees, provide seed capital for a small illicit business selling tofu or cigarettes. This flow of money represents more than just sustenance. It is an act of defiance. Every won sent from Seoul converted into yuan, then into North Korean won. The government in Pyongyang knows this. The journey of money from a bustling South Korean city to a remote North Korean village is a clandestine odyssey. It runs on a fragile network of trust and risk entirely in the shadows. It begins when a defector in Seoul contacts a broker, often someone from their hometown or through the tight-knit defector community. The defector transfers South Korean won into the broker's bank account. This first step is simple, modern, digital, the last easy part. The real work begins when the money must cross sealed, heavily guarded borders. The South Korean broker activates a chain of contacts. They call a counterpart in China, typically near the North Korean border, in Yanji or in Dandong. The broker sends the amount, recipient name, and location. No cash moves from South Korea to China. Instead, an informal value transfer, like hawala, is used. The Chinese broker fronts the funds, subtracting a hefty commission. Fees run 30 to 50%. Now the money must cross the Yalu River or the Tumen River. A Chinese broker hires a smaller smuggler on the border. This could be an illegal trader or someone with ties to North Korean border guards. The money, converted to yuan, is bundled for smuggling, sometimes hidden in legitimate-looking cargo, other times carried across at night, bribing guards on both sides. Risk skyrockets here. A sudden patrol, a change of guards, or a crackdown can ruin everything. Inside North Korea, an internal broker takes over. For years, this fragile pipeline of hope, though risky, had been remarkably resilient. It weathered sanctions, political tensions, and periodic crackdowns. But in January 2020, it faced an enemy it could not bribe or evade: the COVID-19 pandemic. In a desperate bid to prevent the virus entering the country, Kim Jong-un ordered North Korea's borders sealed completely. This was not a tightening of security, it was a total lockdown. The border with China, the economic lifeline and primary artery for remittances, was shut. Soldiers were reportedly given shoot-to-kill orders for anyone attempting to cross. The effect on remittance networks was immediate and devastating. Smugglers who once slipped across the river at night found paths blocked by new fences. More guards and the lethal threat of gunfire made crossings impossible. The informal trade that had provided cover ground to a halt. Chinese brokers suddenly had no way to get money into the country. The entire system, dependent on a porous border, collapsed. For defectors in the south, the silence was terrifying. Phone lines to brokers went dead. Familiar channels vanished overnight, leaving them helpless. Pyongyang used the pandemic as a pretext to tighten its grip internally. In December 2020, the regime enacted the Reactionary Ideology and Culture Rejection Law. It aimed to stamp out foreign media like South Korean dramas. It also introduced harsh penalties for communicating with the outside or handling illicit funds. Being caught with money from the south became treason, punishable by years in a political prison camp or even death. Neighbors became potential informants, brokers thought twice, the lifeline has been cut. The desperate struggle of ordinary North Koreans, relying on smuggled cash for their next meal, stands in grotesque contrast to the life of the country's supreme leader. While his people starve, Kim Jong-un lives in a world of unimaginable opulence, a lifestyle insulated from the suffering he oversees. His personal wealth is estimated by international intelligence agencies to be at least $5 billion, siphoned from the state's coffers, hidden in a web of secret bank accounts across Europe and Asia. This is not state money for national purposes. It is a personal fortune built on the backs of 25 million people who are told to tighten their belts and prepare for hardship. This fortune funds a life of pure indulgence. Kim Jong-un possesses a fleet of over 100 luxury cars, including armored Mercedes-Benz limousines that have been smuggled into the country. He owns a private jet, nicknamed Air Force Un, and a 200-foot luxury yacht, the Princess 95 MY, complete with a jet ski dock. He has built numerous palaces and villas across the country, each one lavishly appointed with imported furniture, private cinemas, and swimming pools. One of his coastal compounds in Wonsan features a private runway, marina, and horse riding tracks. The source of this immense wealth is the state itself. Kim Jong-un controls Office 39, a secret party organization dedicated to generating hard currency for the leadership. This includes the export of natural resources, arms trafficking, drug manufacturing, and sophisticated cybercrime, such as hacking banks and cryptocurrency exchanges. The slow strangulation of the remittance networks has left the defector community in South Korea feeling a profound sense of despair. They escaped to build new lives but also to become pillars of support for those they left behind. Now that purpose has been stolen from them not by choice but by sealed borders and draconian laws. This has ignited a growing conversation within South Korea. Activists, human rights organizations, even some politicians are beginning to ask a critical question. Should helping one's family be a crime? Proponents argue for the creation of official, sanctioned channels for personal remittances. They envision a system perhaps overseen by neutral organizations like the Red Cross. That would allow for small, verified transfers directly to families for humanitarian purposes. In a world connected by global finance where money can cross continents in an instant, a mother should not have to live in fear because her daughter in Seoul sent her $100 for medicine. The calls for change are a plea for common sense and human decency. They hope for a future where a simple bank transfer can replace a whispered phone call and a nighttime rendezvous in the shadows, allowing them to support their loved ones safely, legally, and without fear.